You are listening to the Body Charge podcast, and I'm your host, Sandy Sanderson. Welcome to the Body Charge podcast. Today's topic is how to work out what you really want and avoid wasting time. How do we know what we want out of life? What motivates us to get anything done at all? What does it mean to seek good times? How can we avoid boredom, which saps motivation? This will be a deep dive into the mind to unpick our reasons for doing or not doing. My special guest today is Christin Schnepf, an adventurous sociologist, human behaviour expert, and good time strategist. He blends Ph.D. level research with real-world exploration across continents and has been featured on TED, in China Daily, and on national TV in China. So welcome aboard, Christian. Lovely to have you on the Body Charge podcast.
Thank you, Sandy. It's my pleasure to be here.
My first question is, why do we chase good times, and why does satisfaction and happiness so often seem elusive?
Maybe I start over the second question, because happiness is not really what we're seeking. So I want to separate that happiness is not equals good times. Happiness is an emotion. But when I'm going for the broader picture of a good time, I can also experience a good time when I'm having curiosity, or if I'm excited about something, or even if I'm just calm and relaxed. In those moments, I wouldn't describe my state as happy, but yet I'm experiencing a time worth experiencing and a time I'm attracted towards. To come to the first question where you say why we seek it, from a biological point of view, it is basically everything around energy flow. So an organism, any kind of organism, whether it's a cell or it's an animal organism or it's our organism as humans, there is energy flowing inside of us. And anytime this energy is blocked, it needs to be unblocked because it's against nature's flow. And therefore, nature installed a very interesting, very simple but powerful mechanism that guides us to navigate our actions so that energy is always flowing, and when it's blocked, that we unblock it. So when energy is flowing, we experience this as positive emotions, a variety of positive emotions that we can summarize as a good time. And when energy is blocked, we experience a variety of negative emotions that we summarize as a bad time or the absence of a good time if I'm not flowing towards something.
Or pain, sometimes pain, or
pain would be considered as a negative emotion, energy is blocked, so we need to remove that pain.
So what caused you to venture into this topic in the first place? Tell us a little bit about your background, and so your connection also with China looks interesting.
Yeah, the connection with China, honestly, I have no idea where that came from. Just was naturally attracted. Over again, there was a little voice, and maybe I'm going there one day, or that's kind of interesting from childhood, but it wasn't a loud screaming. And at one point, I just decided to go there when opportunity came up. Okay, but for the first one, my background, I grew up in a normal family, I would say so, and I found myself at the age of 16, where I was currently in high school and was about to graduate a year or 2 years later, that I started questioning what's the point of that. So I could see with all the adults around me that the regular path would lead in a 9-to-5 job, or and at the weekend we go party, and at one point we get a family, then we settle. And I thought, basically I see my life outlined, and I'm bored already now, because I went on the weekends to parties, and I remember that moment when I walked with a friend. We were at the party, and it didn't get me. So with my friend, we just walked away and made a little walk in the village and had a deep conversation at 1 a.m. and about where should life lead. So that was my first touch point with questioning this approach or this outline and wondering, isn't there anything more? And I always tried back then already to inspire my friends. let's do more. I had a band. I invited them to festivals where we were playing, and I tried to inspire them. Let's do something together. Let's dream. And I found that this became increasingly more difficult the older we got, especially age 19. It became so accepted that, yeah, you go to university or take a job, and then that's it, that your life is basically outlined. And I
But
wasn't
a
there.
robot on a treadmill, right?
Yes, yeah, basically.
No
And for me, that
creativity.
wasn't it. Yes. So I went for the more extreme and said, okay, let's go for more. And I went to university, but I was very engaged, represented my university after a year, had my own office. And after a short time, I even founded my first company at the age of 20, 21, something in between. And things were going well. And I basically had then really everything what others told me that's desirable, like money, attention, recognition, good grades, good position, freedom. I was traveling every week thousands of kilometers, and yeah, but that wasn't nice. That was okay, but it was really empty. And I figured out that's basically the same in a different package.
So it
And
got blocked. Just trying to
it
figure
wasn't running.
out
Yeah,
terminology. Yeah, so you were thinking that you were chasing good times or that what you were supposed to do,
that
but
isn't,
felt
yeah.
was incongruent with your internal compass. Perhaps you were trying to work out what other people wanted you to do and that didn't
Mhm.
feel right
Yeah,
for you. So there's an incongruence there between what we think others want us to do, what we should be doing, and
correct.
then there's something else inside which talks to us, right? And that's what you're really talking about, your internal compass.
Yeah, my internal compass said, this is not it. And what other people told me, it's no specific person. I mean, basically everyone was pointing in that direction. But that's where I also started many years later, 10 years later or so, my PhD in sociology, because society basically created this image and this definition of success. And me as a relatively, I mean, I was quite reflected, but also relatively unreflected as a 19-year-old. I thought like, this is it, let's go after it. And after I achieved this at some level, I mean, not the ultimate big level, but good enough that I had a taste of where it's going, I realized, no, this is not leading me to a fulfilled life. I somehow imagined it differently. I imagined it that would be a great time. Back then, I didn't use the wording, but I didn't experience a great time. I experienced moments of good times
Can you
and then
elaborate a bit
emptiness.
more on that phrase, a good time? Because that it's really subjective, isn't it? It means very different
Yeah,
things to different people. So how can we bring the audience along to understand that
yeah.
better, the way you've presented it?
Yeah, so back then for me, a good time was I'm full of energy. I'm excited about waking up in the morning. I'm excited about the things I'm doing. Nowadays, I would frame it in the 5 areas that I could distill in my PhD, that basically life unfolds in 5 areas. And I'm illustrating this in a moment. If you love every aspect on all of those areas, then you're basically saying this is an ultimate good time. So concretely, that means I love who I am, I love with whom I am, I love what I do, and I love what I get, and I love where I am.
So there's a
And
sense of passion and participation. You feel it's real and it's authentic and it has integrity and it's not
mhm.
fake, right?
I didn't see the bridge to that
Oh, yes.
statement, but
So
I
it's
would say yes. Yeah.
so authentic. So I think we feel very enthusiastic when we're really on the mark of our internal compass, what we're meant to do, what we like to do, an expression of who we are, our
Yeah.
talents, skills, abilities, desires. When we're hitting that mark, we get a buzz, right? The big endorphin hit, right?
Basically, yes. So basically, it's all around becoming the version you desire you to be and actually becoming the best version of yourself that your internal self knows already. The old Greeks knew it already. And we're saying basically, you have to, we all of us all are have a divine aspect in us. And that is about to live up to it. And every time we don't live up to it, if every time we're not the best version of ourselves, then it feels somehow wrong. So I wouldn't go that far and say there's a divine in us. However, I would say there is an ideal self. And that ideal self is when all my energy is flowing perfectly and I'm designing my life and my actions, my environment, my people around that it's keep flowing. And when I have to make compromises, for example, that I get some people around me, but I need to do something that leads to an internal blockage, then I'm actually blocking something inside of me that is not the ideal version of myself. So the goal is that I am ultimately satisfied with myself the way I am and have an inner peace while I'm having high energy inside of me.
How do you work out the best version of yourself? What's the ruler? What's the gauge? What are you measuring against?
Yes, I'm measuring basically, we're measuring energy flow. That's the physical foundation of it. But we measure it with the by looking at the tendencies of an individual, whether you appealed to something or you repelled from something, and how strong you appeared by something or how strong you repelled from something. So we measure that throughout the 5 areas that I just explained or just mentioned, and we can tell whether any area you're feeling repelled from, or if all of your areas you feel appealed towards, and how strong you feel appealed towards. If this is given in any moment, you basically inevitably are the best version of yourself. But one of the areas is yourself. So we assess currently the research progress to that point that we currently could distill 4 components that make up the self. One of it, let me illustrate that with the example of a battery. Like one of it is like the energy level, and that counts to fill up through everything we do. Our environment shouldn't drain our energy level. But then there are other 3 components, how the energy in our body is distributed, whether there is a blockage or it can freely flow. And that is, on the one hand, your self-acceptance, that is your mental barriers, basically. If you have a low self-acceptance, you're blocking something inside of you. The other is the physical, the bodily comfort. So if we measured in the first place, like health, your physical health, but it turns out that's usually just a number. And again, what someone else tells to you. If a doctor tells you you're healthy, okay. If you're not healthy, the moment you would claim you're not healthy, the moment you're already sick. So
Well,
you
you
have
have
already damage. Yeah.
psychosomatic influences as well. Like if you
Yes.
believe you're sick, then your body actually obeys. You can actually influence the biological state of your
Yes.
body with your mind.
Yes, totally. But that's why we took physical health out, because it is not really, it can't be assessed by an individual in himself. It can be influenced, as you just mentioned, through their mind, but it can also be basically only measured through medical equipment when already damage occurred.
But what about
But
the
biology,
measurement?
yeah,
What about your internal measurement? What about,
our internal,
do you feel good or do you feel bad?
exactly, exactly. How much do you like being in your body? And if there is some resistance towards it, that you feel like I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable in my body, well, that basically is our internal indicator of some energy is blocked. And if you keep doing this, eventually, okay, the damage is so big that you can measure it with medical equipment, but the damage occurs already in the moment you feel uncomfortable in your body. And that's the question: how comfortable am I feeling in my body? And perhaps, thank you for that impulse, you can transit that even to your perception, your mental perception. Because if you're saying actually objectively you're not in the perfect shape or you're not 100% healthy, but you're saying I like being in my body, you're freeing up blockages, and that leads actually to health again. So there is a transition.
Yes, it's a two-way street. So
Yeah.
also when we have a lot of stress and we lose excessive magnesium, we feel bad physically, and then that also influences our thoughts, and the thoughts can
Hmm.
become black and depressive simply because
Hmm.
not enough energy being
Mhm.
supplied to the brain because it takes a lot of energy to be happy, to experience feelings of joy and, you know, unblocked energy. It's all about energy at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
Yeah, yes, I would give a differentiated perspective on this, that perhaps we don't even need that high energy. We just need the energy that we have to be flowing.
And to accept it, you were saying a little bit about how you look at yourself makes a big difference. And if you accept
Hmm.
that you're okay, then you don't have constant stressful thoughts of being not okay, which depletes a lot of magnesium and takes your
Yes.
resources and wastes them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, what I would like to what I would like to emphasize at the moment is that being okay doesn't mean I'm having a good time. So being okay doesn't mean I'm not having a bad time or I'm not experiencing
Satisfying.
anything I'm walking away from,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean that I'm walking towards something. So the definition of good time is basically something I'm attracted to, I'm pulled towards. So if
Mhm.
I'm in a neutral state and I'm neither attracted by something nor walking away from something, so I'm afraid of something, in that moment I'm just okay, I'm existing. But that moment isn't utilizing energy, it's
Neutral.
just neutral. It's
Yeah.
just neutral. And that is not considered as a good time. That's just okay. And this is a common, I would already call it almost disease, but it's a common trend in society. When a lot of people you ask, do you like your job? Most of them just say,
It's
it's
okay.
okay. It's okay. So they don't like it, and actually they dislike it, because if you would ask the second question, if you had the choice what to do else, would you do something else? Would you do? And they say, yes, absolutely. The first thing I would quit is my job. And they're like, okay, this is not attractive for you to be there. So the reason you're doing this is again out of a scarcity perspective, out of a scarcity position, where you're doing this because you want to avoid problems. So you're running away from
And
something.
you need money. You
Basically,
gotta
that's the
pay the rent.
translation. Yeah. Yeah, you need to make the money, because if you don't have the money, then you have a problem. So you are motivated to do the work to avoid the problem, rather than I'm motivated to do the work because I want to do the work. I want to get to the result.
Yeah. So I think we have these kind of issues a lot when we're younger, and we really don't know what we want at the beginning. We haven't had enough experience to say, "Oh, I don't like that," because you haven't tried it
Hmm.
yet. So we try a
Yeah.
lot of things and we go, "Well, that really didn't work out." So in my case, for instance, I was a graduate trainee for a bank, and they put me through all the, functions of the bank and learning this and learning that with the idea to put me into management. But after
Hmm.
about 8 months, I felt so sick. Every morning I got up
Oh,
with
wow.
the thought of going into that bank. I made my body became ill. I
Yeah.
developed bronchitis and a lot of immune problems. And as soon as I quit that job and started something else, which was a transition that only took a week, my
Hmm.
symptoms cleared up
Oh, wow.
literally within 3 days
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's an exact example of the blockage of energy. When you have blocked
Yeah.
energy, you don't have resources to stay well and healthy, do you? So you've got to keep
Correct.
working towards the future, and the future, or where you're going to, the direction. How do you decide what is the right direction, or is there a right direction? You're just doing trial and error till you find some kind of direction. How does that work?
There are multiple ways to figure that out, but the underlying approach is basically freeing yourself from everything you have to do. So bringing yourself in a safe position, that you don't run away from those things anymore. Say if it's a work, bring yourself into a work where you say, okay, it doesn't have to be good, but it's okay that I'm not having a pain going there, because I might not know where I'm going otherwise, but that's okay. So I'm creating firstly an environment, a position for my life where I'm saying I'm neutral. And
An
in that moment, when
experiment.
I'm fine,
Yeah,
pardon?
it's an experiment. You're opening your vessel
It can be,
opportunities and see what.
yeah. You can do this by design. So bringing yourself into a state where you're saying, I am fine. I'm having not a lack of anything. I did it back then by going on a trip, and removed, I prepared some money in advance. I'm saying I'm not having for the foreseeable future any issue. So for me, I pretended from my mind, I'm fine doing whatever I want for the rest of my life. That was not right, was not correct, but it was good enough that I lived every day with no scarcity. And after a couple of months of not external input and just being with myself and being in nature, paying attention to what I actually want and what I feel, and I could easily say no to the things I didn't because it was basically a holiday or an extended one. I came to a point where I'm saying I'm really fine. So now, what do I want to do? And I had a coach before that was very helpful, and meanwhile I'm coaching others on this as well. I was writing down a vision statement and a mission statement. So I created firstly this vision, what would be ideal, and that came through internal reflection of what is a hell yeah, basically. I could do it. I could do A. It's nice. I somehow can argue around it, can reason. Yeah, it's nice. Or I can do B, and instantly my whole body reacts and says, "Wow, this is nice."
You
I
got
say, "Okay,
excited.
that's a clear message." Yeah, you're
Energy flow.
comparing the options in your mind.
Yep. You
Yes,
felt the energy flow, and that gives you enthusiasm and
correctly,
passion and excitement.
correctly. Yes, I can just give this recommendation to people, whether you get a coach or you're talking to a friend, and you let your friend or this person observe you while you talk about some of your visions. And if you talk about the vision, for example, in my case back then, I studied marketing. Brief detour. I studied marketing because I thought, with the story I told before, those people know how to inspire people to take actions. And I wanted to inspire my friends to take actions to live a
Motivated.
better life.
Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, marketing is basically inspiring you to take actions to buy. I wanted to use this tool to inspire actions to live a better life.
It's
But
a
along the way,
it's a creative process, isn't it? I think that's important to access creativity so you don't feel stifled or bored or monotonous. I think humans need that element of a little bit of adventure and unpredictability,
mhm,
don't they? Because that's how we
mhm,
feel the flow, and we make changes that otherwise wouldn't be possible because we're open to
perhaps.
possibility.
Perhaps. So there are a couple of psychological models behind what humans need, also emotional needs. And one model, actually all models explain that we have a need for certainty, but we also have a need for uncertainty. So we have a need for variety. Variety equals uncertainty, kind of. But if I translate this to energy flow, it's basically most of the time when we create certainty, we create it through making boundaries. We we make we make boundaries to block energy flowing in a direction we don't want it to be. And if these boundaries become too much, then we stagnate. So we can't flow freely anymore. We don't allow our energy to flow in a direction that really just wants, oh, now I want to go to the left. Oh, no, I set up a boundary. I have a habit.
Now I have
I
too
have a
many
routine.
obligations and I'm stuck.
Exactly. So sometimes it's just good to say, um, here and there, just let it flow, let it out. Just
Yeah.
do something completely unexpected that gives you energy again.
And I think it helps to remove distractions, unnecessary distractions. So, perhaps have a little bit of an audit of what you're doing
Mhm.
daily and what may be taking away from your energy flow, what may be not
Mhm.
necessary.
Yeah.
A little bit of feng shui on the inside.
Actually, I developed a tool for that. It was a long, long work for 4 years in PhD research. I developed eventually the metric that validated over cultures that we can measure a good time, which translates to energy flow. And the metric is called good time ratio, GTR. And based on this, we developed meanwhile an app, or a web app for now, where we can actually assess the whole life, include, so not just to see how good is the good time ratio, how well is my energy flowing, but also to see where is energy blocked. So we had incredible user experiences at that point where people were saying, seeing on the dashboard, oh, the time with I keep it confidential, time with that person is your biggest energy block. And they see it on the dashboard when we guided them through it. And they said, how did you know this? This is really the biggest pain I have in my life. Okay, great. You have multiple ways to remove that blockage, to spend less time, to take a step back, or to try to change something in a way that you enjoy it more.
So you're helping them to see something that was subjective and to then see it more clearly in an objective way so they
Yes.
make better decisions because sometimes we have a blind eye to something we don't even see
Yeah.
what our own blocks are.
Yes. Correct. So the dashboard is my business partner calls it always a mirror. You have a mirror for life where you see crystal clear. From a marketing perspective, it's well known that people make emotional decisions, but eventually they use their mind to argue, to reason why this buying decision is a good decision. And that's what we try to do for life. We make emotional decisions, but we don't have, for example, if I buy a phone, I can tell, oh, I like this phone more than the other, but I need to justify it internally with myself. I'm saying this phone has a better camera, has a longer battery life, etc. But for life, we just have emotional decisions and have a hard time to tell, is it really good to leave this relationship or is it really good to do this job? And if you have it black and white, you see, yes, my numbers tell me this is the right decision. And it removes basically, again, the mental inner blockages and liberates you from internal conflicts and just lets you do the things you know are right for you.
Because it's always shades of grey, though, isn't it? It's never black and white. It's never this or that. It's a weighing up of the least bad and you know what can increase the good things in your life. But it's like shopping for a property, buying a
Mhm.
house. You never get everything perfect, right?
Uh,
There's some
I'm not sure
compromises.
about that. There maybe, but it's a trade-off, say it like this. But that's where I could distill this framework, as I call it, the good time framework, where you have those 5 life areas. You measure whether you appealed or repelled from it, and also the intensity. And then you start working on securing all the 4 areas except of yourself. The self is the most important area, where you're securing all of those. Don't pull you down and say it's not perfect, but it's okay. It doesn't stress me being here. In that moment, when you have that stable, you can work on yourself, and the more self-satisfaction you become having, the more energy you're having to put into the other areas again to make them then nice.
You're
And if you do
using
this consistently,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
using your energy more efficiently. So this
yeah.
questionnaire that you have, is that like an online thing people can get to? Can you let them know where they can find it?
Yes, they can go on goodtime.app, goodtime.app, and it's currently a self-assessment. We're utilizing soon AI to make this whole experience much easier. But it's basically like your health tracker for your whole life, including a virtual coach. And then, yeah, as I like to call it, it's a life navigation system. You literally see which direction should I go, and it helps you to make adjustments on time. Most people wake up in the moment the pain is too high already, and they say, "Oh, I need to change. How did I get here?"
Yeah.
And doesn't have to come here because you see with our dashboard, you see the graph, and when the graph is slowly dropping from 90% to 85%, it's still good. Yeah, it's still good. It's still a great life. You still have a good time,
But you
but
have
you see it's
to make
dropping.
some adjustments on the way, don't you?
Correct. Yeah,
It's a way to
absolutely.
conserve energy, to make better decisions, and to remove
Yeah,
clutter so we can
yeah.
see the direction we need to go in much better.
Exactly. So if I'm saying my bodily comfort is increasing, I don't have to wait until I'm obese, until I'm having pain. I just see, usually I love my body. Now, the last weeks, it dropped from 95% to 90% satisfaction. Aha, what am I doing with my habits that is causing this? How are the other areas in my life that's where the energy is blocked? And I'm taking a look at the other areas and seeing, oh, I spent too much time doing something I disliked or too much time with that person. Let me remove that and spend more time that I'm enjoying my body more. And you
Then
immediately
you're not
adjust back.
grumpy anymore.
yeah, you adjust immediately back that you basically can keep your satisfaction really high. I gave this TED talk about it. If you Google my name, Christian W. Schnepf, I think the talk was called "Can We Have a Good Time All the Time?" Something like that.
Yeah, we can
And
put the link at the bottom of the YouTube.
yes, yes, and in that talk, I tried to introduce this idea that firstly, yes, it is possible to have a good time all the time. We don't have to have the bad times to have good times, but also it is possible if we measure it based on data, because data helps you to make adjustments when they are needed and not when they're too late.
Yeah, you can see it. It's taking it from inside to outside, and then you can see it. It's like seeing yourself as though you're someone else. Makes everything easier to make judgments about and qualitative decisions.
Much easier.
And it's subjective. You tend to have a blind eye. So having this as a tool sounds like really good, a good thing to do.
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
yeah, working out everything in life, really. So
Yeah.
we're coming to an end shortly. Is there a little summary you want to make to people before we finish?
I could summarize what we talked today about it. So I found it very important to have a vision, something you're attracted towards, that you say, I'm walking towards. Because walking towards something,
The purpose.
not necessarily a purpose.
That's a mission, isn't it?
I wouldn't call it a life mission. It's like I'm attracted towards something. If you don't have anything in your life you're looking forward to, it can be just going to a coffee shop this afternoon. But
could it be like a hobby?
It is about like, how do you imagine your life? And when you're thinking about this, do you feel your energy flowing? Do you feel excitement? Do you feel your eyes are opening? Is your voice raising? Or does it bring you peace? So having something to walk towards.
You have to detect your biofeedback, the feelings your body is giving you from particular thoughts about what you would like to do.
Yes. And you don't, to recap, you don't have to do this only by yourself. Sometimes it's great to have someone else sitting in front of you that gives you the feedback. In my case, someone was saying, hey, Christian, when you were talking about marketing, yeah, you had some light here, but when you were talking about making someone's life that he loves that life, you were just shining. It was a completely different energy. And I said, that's good to know. That seems to be more of my direction. So I love this feedback mechanism.
Well,
That's the one thing.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that. And we'll put the links at the bottom. And we're coming to an end. So thank you, Christian. I really appreciate this interview. It's super interesting and it gives us a lot of food for thought about the changes we might want to make.
Yeah. Yes. A very pleasure. And I hope we can help you even more and see you on other platforms here and there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you liked this conversation and will share it with others. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you want to listen to other Body Charge conversations, click like, subscribe, the bell icon, and click all notifications. Subscribe to our newsletter to get updates on blogs, podcasts, videos, and Magnesium special offers at electramagnesium.com.au. Relax, recharge, and recover.